Hey folks, I'm Tim from Playing for Second, and today we're going to spend a little bit of time unboxing this monstrosity that recently showed up on my porch from Into the Unknown. So this is the Wave 1 of Kingdoms Forlorn, and with that, kind of wanted to dig in here and see what we see compared to maybe what we've seen from the Aeon Trespass waves, and because that if you've seen our solo top 10 solo game video was my number 4 solo game, so definitely one of my favorites. So super interested to see what we have in here. So, and the box is so large that at least portion of it I know is off camera, and more than likely what we're going to end up doing here is getting some stuff out of the box, putting it out on the table, and basically staging to do a little bit better of a top-down video so you can see more of the contents. So again, this is a rather large multi-year campaign that again is now just delivering. So what do we have in here? We've got the playmat, an extra set of dice, all right, we've got a little mini expansion, so Princess Slavia. And now we're getting into some of the larger boxes. Looks like we've got 2 big ones in here. All right, I'm going to go with the smaller of the big ones first. I'm going to assume this is the expansion, the first expansion that came in Wave 1. So yeah, the 10,000 Succulent Fears. We'll go ahead and put that off to the side. And then for this one, I think this is Kingdom Forlorn's proper. This is a rather large box, and I'm going to have difficulty even getting it out of this box. So with that, we're going to cut away, and I'll have this back on the table. Okay, so we got this, the game box out of the shipping box, but we had another little surprise. So what we wanted to do is remove what is currently in a gigantic sleeve and remove that, break it down to its components, and then we're going to transition more into that top-down table level view. So with that, here we go. We're going to remove this sleeve that is around this entire monstrosity. I don't know what else to call it. Very neat art that we have here. Again, more of a dark fantasy, medieval theme compared to what we would or what we've seen with Aeon Trespass Odyssey and the alternate Greek mythology there, but very stylistically somewhat similar. So with that, let's see what is in here. All right, so we've got, okay, that was what I was looking for. I wasn't sure if that's what we were going to see or not, but as it turns out, that's what we've got. Well, what we have, we've got 2 still rather deep boxes, but definitely not to the height that what it was. So with that, yeah, let's head down to the table and start looking at some components. Okay, so we're back. We've got the massive box on the table here, and again, hopefully you can see a pretty nice photo of the stylistic kind of gothic, dark medieval fantasy that we've got on the front cover here. I'm going to take that off. We'll start taking a look inside here. So first of all, we've got our rule book. And it looks like other story books that somewhat come along in there. Give me a sec, and we'll get in there. I believe there is a pretty substantial learn to play in this title, similar to what we saw in Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Trying to be careful not to dig into the... Boy, they did a good job here. Boy, oh boy, very tightly wound there. All right, cool. So we've got our rule book, and then also we've got okay, so no learn to play here. We've got the Sunken Kingdom, Principality of Stone. Within these, okay, so we've got a codex specifically for this this part of the tome. Specifically says right there, the tome you're holding is a codex for Sunken Kingdom. All right, very good. Principality of Stone. I'm going to assume it's similar. Yep, so codex specifically for that. All right, so it's going to be the adventures and exploration paragraphs for those specific settings. All right, very good. Moving on, we're looking back at the rule book. Looks okay, exactly 100 pages. So that's I can't remember exactly where the Aeon Trespass books were, but they were pretty substantial as well. And what we're used to with the previous game, and then also cycles 4 and 5 from Aeon Trespass is the very high quality paper. The art is very solid. Colors are bright. Very good. Looking forward to jump into this guy. All right. So a couple things. I wanted to talk real quick about what is different, or what is different about these games from Into the Unknown, and specifically Kingdoms Forlorn. Right here, this escalating clashes, or the inverted combat paradigm. That seems to be a pretty significant part of their games so far, or at least what we've seen. And that's just that idea that as the clashes or the battles go on, both the players' characters, and then also the things that you're fighting, whatever they are, they as you go and as you take damage, you actually get stronger, rather than getting weaker as you go through the clash. So kind of again what they call this inverted combat. The other thing, or another thing, is what they call hard co-op, and that's really the interconnection of it being dependent on other players within the game. To specifically Aeon Trespass, you are setting up the future turns by providing tokens that either make it easier to hit or easier to damage. I'm not sure exactly how that works out in Kingdoms Forlorn. Again, pretty new to this one. And then this other Soloperative, which is definitely a deviation with or from Aeon Trespass with Kingdoms Forlorn. So with Aeon Trespass, it was very the play was, you've got 4 titans that are driven by Argonauts, and they're fighting primordials. Now, what they're doing is they're tending to do that as a collective group. They basically have one story that is threaded throughout you have the main story, and then you have a couple like side quests throughout the game. But with this, it really takes it in a different path of the idea that each of the knights has their own story, and then the players really take on the stories of the knights, and then there's this interconnecting, or woven together story of all those knights together. So let's go ahead and take these out of here. I think I'm going to push that for a second. So what do we have here? Here are the first layer of miniatures that I'm sure we're going to take a look at. Looks like we have some of the all right, mid-level baddies. I don't think these are necessarily the bosses. I believe many of these are the mobs and the minions that you're going to tend to see in the skirmishes. But lots of details similar to what we tended to see with the Aeon Trespass minis. So very good. Happy to see that. All right. So miniatures in these games, yes, absolutely going to be, I won't say the #1 draw, but definitely a draw to this type of game, and then also the specific title that we're talking about here. Next layer we have, looks like some punch boards, and then also just some paper. These are the night sheets. Basically, each character or each player maintains one of these. One of the things I was wondering on, and I don't know that I've seen any activity on this, but I'm interested to see if it ends up happening, is having an app developed similar to what ended up coming out for Aeon Trespass. I know I really took advantage of that and did a vast majority of my activity of record keeping on that digitally versus having to maintain physical copies. All right, as we were talking, we've got some additional miniatures here. As you can see, we're starting to get into maybe the next level of baddies that we're going to encounter. This right here, Kingdom Sheet. Okay, so this is part of the overall clash process. Again, I am new to this. I'm not sure what the notation is here. One of the things though that I was looking at and kind of comparing with Aeon Trespass and then Kingdoms Forlorn. So Aeon Trespass, you had a three-phase approach to the game. You'd have the voyage, which was the ship phase. You had adventure, which was the story, and then the battle, which was where the Titans were facing the primordials. And in Kingdoms Forlorn, it's similar but different, where you have a vision, which is where the knights kind of go into their own personal storybook to determine what the quests are going to be. And then a delve, which is a procedurally generated dungeon crawl, basically. And then lastly, similar to the battles, in this game, they're called clashes. So yeah, whenever we see this last thing I was looking at was the clash board, so I'm assuming it's going to be related to that. I really like the miniatures here, and I was going to say they some of them anyway are giving me a little bit of Kingdom Death Monster vibes. Probably not in the same level of miniature. These are what I would say is probably more of a mass market type miniature versus what you tend to see in the Kingdom Death, but still very very detailed. And of course, we've got to look at the big guy down here on the end. Yeah, I believe it's a king being manipulated by the puppet hand up here at the top. Boy, that really turned out nice. All right, very good. And the miniature we probably have seen the most of, this the Egghead Knight or the Egg Knight. Okay. So, very miniatures heavy, but also very, very player driven. And that was, I'm pretty sure that's what these are the player boards and how they break down. So instead of having the Triskelion, we've got this two-part player board with the where we're used to having the three vitals or let's see, the characteristics, I guess, of the player or the characters. We've got these three. So instead of, let's see, it was rage and fate and danger, I believe, were the words that they used for the three metrics. Here we've got passion, heat, and vigor. I'm not sure if they map one-to-one or if there's some similarities there, but again, knew that there was somewhat similar, at least in the model. Interested to see how it turns out in gameplay. All right, we've got looks like I saw this was a 4 or 5, 1 to 4 or 1 to 5, and I think I'm seeing 5 over there. So it looks like they got all 5 into the same into the core box. So now in this game, each player is taking on one of the knights. Each knight has their own box here, which comes with the various information for that specific knight. In this case, we're looking at Sir Sanche and the Last Bargain. So what do we have there? We've got, so it looks like this is more just an area to collect and maintain your character. Also, you've got your miniature that comes with that specific knight. All right, very nice. So again, similar detail to what we've seen previously, and then also in the previous title. And then with this game, again, a little bit more, or at least it seems to be a little bit more personalized, where you're going to have your own personal journey, and that was that whole soul operative mindset that we saw in the book. So each knight has their own knight book. Again, talks a little bit about what exactly this is, when you're going to use it. Talks about the background of the character themselves. Very good. That it's almost you've got a storybook here specifically around that knight. Very good. And then it gets into the specific quest. Okay. All right. Very good. That's interesting how that's shaping up. So that is one knight. Let's see what other knights that we have here. We've got Renholder. And in that case, taking on Renholder and the Secrets of the Spirit. Looks like it's a similar breakdown, though. You're going to have your knight book, your prologue, and then it jumps right into the quest. This is one of the few knights where you're seeing it seems like they're wielding some sort of magic of some kind. Not sure exactly what that is. Interested to find out here in the future. Paracelsa? All right. Kara. Kara was, I believe, one of the main characters that was used in the intro. There's actually a pretty decent learn to play that Into the Unknown put together. that's or I should say a learn to play video series. They've got multiple videos that stack together, lay out a pretty decent overview of the game and how to get started, and well, basically learn to play. Flesh Shredder. All right, so in the core box, we've got those five knights. Looks like we've got some potential standees, and then also, but it looks like bases. Not positive on that. That's what that appears to be. And then we, at least in the core box, get to the main, the dragons. So that was something I was taking a look at the box itself and looking at the name of the title of the game is Kingdoms Forlorn, Dragons, Devils, and Kings. So you kind of knew there were going to be some dragons in here, and you would figure they'd end up being the big bads. And again, similar to what we've seen up to this point, very detailed miniature, especially for this this low level of gaming. It's interesting how they based this one. Looks like they're in some sort of like a muck or a mud or something like that, and with people stuck. It's a neat detail where the tail is disconnected and kind of floating there. Very nice. And we've got the other dragon that comes with the core, and then as you can see, the wings that are detached. Looks like those are going to snap in quite easily. And then obviously for storage, or at least in this state, you're going to have to remove those, toss them back in here. All right, very good. Well, very good. That emptied out the core box. Let me see if I can get stuff back in here, and we will move on to the other boxes. All right, so we're back. We're taking a look. I think I misspoke and said we were done with the core box. Of course, we're not done with the core box. This is we're estimating maybe the lower third of the core box, but still have some more to go through here. So we've got a double-sided board. One side, and I think it's the side we're looking at right now, is called the Encounter. Yep, Encounter side of the board. And again, this is, at least from what I've seen so far, probably the part that it was the most foreign to me. This was pretty different from any of the games that I had seen from them. And then on the back of this is something that's a little bit more familiar, more common, and that's our the Clash board in this game. Pretty neat idea, having a pool for the terrain cards. Night Pool, this is, I believe, the place where you put your tokens for that hard co-op, where you're setting up your friends basically for their next turn. Looks like this over here. Mortis is Kingdom Forlorn's version of trauma cards. All right, very good. Okay, AI deck, BP deck, so body part deck and AI deck. A lot of similarities, but definitely a few things that are different, a few contrasts from what we've seen in the past. All right, continuing to look here, we've got these rings. These little base rings are for the mobs that we were looking at. So the smaller miniatures and the groups of those that you'll be clashing with. Then also we've got just some basic cubes for just basic marking. Not sure what this bookmark looking thing is. I'm sure it's not a bookmark, but boy, that's what it looks like. And then we start getting into, or at least what we're looking at here, are some of the procedurally generated cards that you use to develop or form what I believe are the delves. So we got those there. Then we've got our group of cards here. It looks like we're going to have one of those for each of the knights. Give some additional information down here. I believe these slide into that player board that we were just taking a look at. Yep, we're seeing some of the knight names right there. All right, very good. Principality of Stone, that was one of those adventure books that we were taking a look at. It looks like this is having to do with the merchant district and some AI information that maybe goes along with that. It looks like these are more of those delve generation cards with information about how they connect to one another as you develop them. A guard statue. Okay. Again, very interested to jump in and better find out what exactly is going on with all the individual components here. All right, let's remove the top section here. And that is where we get to, I believe I just saw something that said we have over 1,500 cards in this title. And you can see, yep, that's them. We've got a lot within these banks and over here that are just appear to be standard size. And I believe this is where we're going to see, this is where we're going to see some of our AI cards for the clashes and the specific mobs or monsters that we're seeing down here. And then also, we start getting into the BP decks as well. So we've got the AI decks, BP decks. Again, something that has some familiarity to Aeon Trespass. One thing I really struggled with Aeon Trespass was the insert. This seems to be a much better thought out version of that. Now, while the size of the box, I have to admit, seems to be quite unwieldy, but the overall organization within the box actually looks like a step up. We've got our smaller cards over here. This is where we're going to, well, right off the top, we're seeing loot and additional gear. Somewhat similar graphic design and stylization from what we had seen. So gear associated with specific monsters. In this case, one of the dragons, that toad dragon, which I think was the first one we looked at. Also, other types of cards in here are the again, the smaller ones are the just for an example, these are some of the Mortis cards, I believe. And the different levels or different tiers of the Mortis or the trauma cards. And then eventually these are the Judicum, or this is a similar, or this game's version of the Obel deck, where you've got one these are the two you start off with, where it's either a 50-50 chance of you live, you die, just based on that individual card draw. As you go through the game, I'm going to assume that these get potentially added to that deck as you go as well. And so yeah, we're seeing, again, additional items, in this case, a weapon upgrade, right there, just a specific axe. Just looking up here, axe looks like they might get into the specific materials. This one says metal. Not sure why or how that matters, but it's definitely there. All right, very good. Last item we had here from a card standpoint were some of the larger size cards. I believe this, and I just saw the note down here, this interacts with the encounter board, so that one side of the board that I'm a little less familiar with. And it looks like that may be where we're running into mobs. So again, it may be a situation where we don't see mobs necessarily on the clash board, and we encounter those more on the encounter board. All right, last thing we have in this box are the set of dice that came with the base game. My understanding is that these, at least the D6s, have a similar role as to what we've seen in Aeon Trespass, which is the different sides just represent different quantity of hits that are done either during an attack or on a defense action. The different colors represent basically leveling up or skilling up within the specific knight that you have and the equipment that they're tooled out with. So with that, I'm going to put this away, and then we're going to take a look at the first expansion box, the 10. I want to jump over here. 10,000 Succulent Fears. Okay, and here we have the first expansion, again, 10,000 Succulent Fears. This is, again, not an insignificant box here. Okay, so going to assume this is similar. Okay, so it has a similar codex basically for this specific land or this specific for the expansion. Basically, let's see, it says it contains all sub-kingdom adventures, exploration paragraphs, and special events. And it looks like similar to what you would expect from an expansion. It's basically, okay, whatever the core game or the base game has, now we're going to have specific rules that go along with this specific set of components. All right, very good. Let's keep looking. What do we have here? We've got, okay, so we have additional tokens. I didn't get the tokens out or the terrain tiles out of the core box, but very similar to what we're looking at here. At least the Aeon Trespass, everything punched very easily, very nicely. Yeah, gonna be no problem with this one as well. I can see. Probably the bigger problem is going to be keeping them in there if you wanted to. They're going to be falling out like crazy. All right, so what do we have here? Okay, so this is new. I am not sure what this one is. Facility chant cost. Again, assuming it's going to be something specifically with this this expansion. Additional mobs. I'm going to assume that we're going to see these miniatures in just a moment as we get into it. And I remember seeing this mouth. I'm going to assume this is the AI card for the dragon that goes with this expansion. And as we see here again, more in those encounter cards that we were previously talking about. Young Devour Dragon. I bet that's that dragon that we were. Yep, right there. That's going to be the art of the dragon for this expansion, and a couple new knights to add. So we've got Stoneface and Sir Ubar. And an extension of the map. I'm not sure if this is an extension or if this is a different one. I noticed on the back of this it has a Clash-like model. I see it's called the Digestive Track. So I believe I did hear about this one. It has something where the knights are actually in the digestive tract of a monster, and they're trying to overcome some of the issues that they're running into in that. Definitely a different setting. I don't know that I've run into that previously. All right, we've got the two new knights for this expansion. Again, Sir Ubar. Same as what we had seen previously. You've got the Knight book. You've got the Knight Mini. In this case, you have an additional one for, I believe he potentially transitions into an ape. So yeah, we've got human Ubar miniature and ape Ubar miniature. So yeah, it looks like that might be the case. Similar setup though, prologue. I'm going to assume the next one's going to be, chapter 1. I was going to say in quests. So yeah, this is where you're going to get your quests from, and basically set yourself up for what you're trying to do in the game proper. So there was Sir Ubar. Over here we have Stoneface. A lot of variability between the core box and this first expansion. It's hard to believe they've got a couple additional expansions beyond these. And here are what appear to be some of the mob miniatures. Got a few different ones in here. Some of them kind of turn around quite a bit. Some additional Sunken Kingdom tiles. The larger monsters. I remember this one during the campaign definitely stands out as, having its own style with the arms and hands there. It's a rather large, I think, anvil on the end of a stick. It's being used as a very large club, maybe. All right, and then the last one here. There's that young Devour Dragon, I believe, is what the big bad of this this expansion is. Again, pretty intricate for this type of miniature. A lot of space in here. Not one connected piece there. All right, we'll slide that guy back in, and that is going to complete our unboxing of the expansion. The only two additional items that I did have, I'm going to grab it real quick off to the side here. I ended up getting an extra set of dice just so I never had an issue of running out with those, and then also the neoprene mat. And again, this is going to be that double-sided board. One side is going to be the encounter board, and then the other is going to be the clash. And that ended up coming out pretty nicely. We don't have I'll say the text is very sharp. You don't have a lot of loss of or degradation of the font or anything like that. Very clear to read the text up here in the upper right corner. And then the clash side, actually pretty happy with that. That's it's not faded. It doesn't look everything's pretty sharp. So looking forward to putting that into practice and play. Okay, so that was everything. We've got the core box, which was two big components. One that was again about 2/3, and then the remaining 1/3. Also took a look at the expansion, and then also the additional components that I had with the map and the dice. This is a game I'm really looking forward to. Again, following on the very, I'll say the coattails of Aeon Trespass Odyssey, which is a game I really fell in love with when it came out, and see a lot of similarities here, but just enough that's different to definitely keep me intrigued. So with that, yeah, definitely looking to get it to the table. So with that, we'll catch you later.